Hello and welcome back. I am still Brian Downs, and this is still a republic if you can keep it. It's August 17th, about 6:20 in the evening here in Orlando, Florida. It's never 4D chess. Tonight I would like to talk about the recent summit between President Donald J. Trump and President Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, you may know, as one of the most notorious war criminals of the 21st century, the tyrant of Moscow, who has certainly been drinking whatever it is in the water out there that makes men evil. Great admirer of people like, Ivan the Terrible and Joseph Stalin, who were bloody-handed psychos. And the invader of the sovereign nation of Ukraine 2.5 years ago, he launched a special military operation to seize control of a country that didn't want to be seized control of. Putin, of course, felt that this operation would be over in 3 days. It's now 3.5 years later. Putin's war is lost. Books will be written, shelves filled with those books about how warfare is changed forever, about the story of Ukraine. The Ukrainians, of course, backed by the Western Alliance, mostly European countries and presidential administration of Joe Biden, have absolutely smashed the brains out of the Russian invaders, inflicting hundreds of thousands of casualties. I believe we're up to at least 1 million killed and wounded. Am I incorrect there? Double check me in the comments. Thousands upon thousands of tanks and armored vehicles, Russian tanks and armored vehicles, destroyed. Depots emptied in a drone infiltration operation that has rewritten the rules of warfare forever. The Ukrainians destroyed something like 40% of Russia's strategic bomber fleet on the ground. Ukraine being a nation that, well, they have an air force, a small one. They did it with drones, is my point. It is a new world. Putin's Russia has been absolutely hammered in ways that no one imagined possible 4 years ago. Putin's war is lost. And yet, Putin, being a tyrant, keeps shoveling men and material into the furnace so that more Russians may leave their bones in Ukraine. Because Putin understands that he can't say, whoops, my bad, take backsies. Putin understands that his own political career can't survive a withdrawal from Ukraine. He cannot admit that he's made a mistake. So now Putin, desperately struggling to stay in his job, is trying to find some way to frame the war as a success. One of the ways he could potentially do this is by getting the United States to strong-arm Ukraine into ceding territory. If Putin can say, oh, well, we conquered at least part of Ukraine, then he can claim he did something right, in defiance of the evidence of our eyes and ears. But, of course, it's the power in Moscow. It is divorced from truth. And Putin sees a kindred spirit in the divorce from truth in President Donald J. Trump. So, Putin wants to negotiate with Trump about Ukraine. Is there a ceasefire? No. Is there a peace treaty? No. Did the government of Ukraine have a representative at the recent meeting in Alaska? No. Did Putin concede that he's in the wrong? No. Did Putin say, I will withdraw my troops if? No. Putin is trying to keep what he has been trying so desperately to steal. And President Donald J. Trump, toady to tyrants, fool, and increasingly dementia patient, wants to help him. President Trump invited Putin to meet with him in the United States. Putin hasn't been to the U.S. in I don't know how many years. Of course, one of the reasons he hasn't been here recently is because he is a war criminal, wanted for arrest anywhere outside of Russia because of any number of Russian atrocities committed in Ukraine, the kidnapping of thousands of Ukrainian children who have then been taken to Russia to be made into Russians, rape as a weapon of war, murder of civilians, the list goes on. Feel free to Google Russian atrocities and, take a deep breath. But our guy, Donald, welcomes the war criminal to American soil, welcomes him to Alaska, which is conveniently close to Russia, and minimizes how much Putin has to risk traveling outside of Russia because, again, wanted war criminal. Donald J. Trump literally applauds Putin as he comes down out of the jet. American fighter aircraft fly overhead in a military salute to Europe's most notorious butcher. They meet for 2.5 hours. Nothing is achieved. Putin does hint publicly, of course, that perhaps the war in Ukraine wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump had won the 2020 presidential election, if Joe Biden had never been elected. This is transparently Putin kissing Trump's ass. This is Putin doing what he's been doing for years, handing Trump propaganda victories, or at least what Trump will perceive as propaganda victories. Oh, you see, if I had been president, Europe's most notorious butcher would not have steamrolled into a sovereign nation, killing hundreds of thousands, devastating infrastructure, destroying cultural treasures, and otherwise acting like a right bastard. Oh no, that's Joe Biden's fault. Ridiculous. Ridiculous lies. We now live in a world where the White House and the Kremlin go hand in hand to hand out the same ridiculous lies because Donald Trump has always been a fan of Vladimir Putin. Don't forget that Trump's campaign team met with Putin's envoys in Trump Tower during the 2016 presidential campaign because Putin's envoys offered damaging information on Trump's rival Hillary Clinton. Totally illegal. Absolutely not allowed for American political campaigns to accept anything of value from foreign governments in an attempt to further the goals of their campaign and win their election. It happened. No, well, of course, Trump's team later said, well, yes, they said they had damaging info on Hillary Clinton, but they didn't give it to us. Except that Trump's campaign immediately pivoted to attacking Clinton on the case of the emails that had gone astray, famously, of course, and been deleted in a series of screw-ups regarding Hillary Clinton's telecommunications. We know that Putin's government conducted online disinformation campaigns designed to get Donald Trump elected. We know that Donald Trump has been holding hands with this tyrant for a decade. Don't forget that during the first presidential campaign, the 2016 campaign to elect Donald Trump, that Trump was negotiating the building of a Trump Tower in Moscow. Nothing happens in Moscow without Putin's stamp of approval. Nothing. Trump was negotiating the building of a Trump Tower in Moscow while telling the American people he has no business in Russia at all. Whole books have been written about Trump's very cozy and lucrative relationship with various Russian oligarchs, including Vladimir Putin. Feel free to look some of them up. And now, what Trump wants is to act like he ended the war in Ukraine by having a meeting that lasted 2.5 hours, which is twice as long as his attention span is. What has been the result of the meeting? Nothing. No ceasefire, no end of the war, no troop movements, no withdrawal of troops. It is hinted that perhaps it would be okay with Putin if sometime in the future Ukraine entered into a security agreement with NATO, didn't join NATO, but entered into a security agreement with NATO where NATO would come to Ukraine's defense with combat troops, not simply war material and money, but with troops in case Ukraine is ever attacked. Perhaps Putin hints that might be acceptable. What Putin wants, of course, is territory. So now, Trump, the idiot, the fool, is going to have a meeting with the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and say, hey, let's play a game of telephone. You weren't invited to my meeting with Putin. I'm here to tell you what he told me he wants. Zelensky is hemmed in, first of all, by sanity, by his ability to read a map, by his ability to see that the Russians have been defeated, and the only reason that they're still in Ukraine is because Vladimir Putin is only concerned with Vladimir Putin and does not care how many Russian lives he wastes in this futile endeavor. Zelensky can see that his own constitution forbids him for trading land for anything. Zelensky is not going to agree, because Zelensky can see that if you do that, all Vladimir Putin is going to do is draw back, lick his wounds, declare himself the victor, and plot his next attack. So, President Donald J. Trump met with Vladimir Putin, Europe's most notorious butcher and war criminal. President Trump said, hey, what can we do to get you to stop killing people senselessly in Ukraine? Or, really, let's look at it this way. What can we do to get you to stop getting Russians killed in Ukraine senselessly, farcically, endlessly? Trump achieved nothing except to make Vladimir Putin look like someone who deserves to be negotiated with. Except to make Vladimir Putin look like someone who can negotiate and give nothing, even when his war is lost. Here's an idea. Why don't we just keep supplying the Ukrainians? Western supplies is what has made it possible for Ukraine to win this victory. Western supplies is what will bring that victory home. Why don't we keep doing that? Oh no, Donald Trump says. He doesn't want to inconvenience his buddy Vlad. So instead, let's ask Vladimir what he wants, and then see about giving it to him. The Ukrainian situation is yet another illustration of Donald Trump's malfeasance, corruption, stupidity, absolute inability to understand America's place in the world as a leader and peacekeeper, absolute inability to understand the role of the President of the United States as defender of justice and liberty. It is yet another demonstration of Donald Trump's catastrophic incompetence and the fact that he is descending ever further into dementia. We must remove Donald Trump from office. The 25th Amendment, the impeachment process for any number of illegal executive orders. This must be done. Let us look forward to the day. Contact your representatives, donate to campaigns, donate to causes. We will make this happen. We must. The future depends on it.